Hey folks, welcome into the News 12 Now desk. Thanks for joining us here at 8 o'clock on our Thursday, January the 11th. Let's take a look outside here on our Thursday morning. You see the camera over Grovetown shaking a little bit, maybe a tiny bit windy, nothing compared to what we saw Tuesday. And unfortunately, we are going to see more of that tomorrow. A first alert weather day has been issued for tomorrow for the entire CSRA. If you just caught Tim's live update here on Facebook and on the streaming app, you would know we are expecting some pretty bad wind and rain yet again. So as we kind of recover from the last storm we saw on Tuesday, we are now gearing up for another potential storm tomorrow. So just be ready if you need to get anything together for your emergency response kit. Just make sure you got all that together. Also be sure you have our First Alert weather app downloaded and our WRDW streaming app. That way you don't miss any vital information that could be important to you and your family. So be sure you have those apps downloaded. They are free to do so, and you can do it in the App Store or the Google Play Store if you have an Android. All right, let's get into our top headlines here. And the big thing that we're talking about right now is following up on all that storm damage that we saw the past couple of days, specifically Tuesday, and specifically out in Bamberg County. So let's show you the video of the tornado actually coming through Bamberg County. They did confirm a tornado came through. You're going to see your screen get like real white and brown in a second. That's the tornado coming through. Here it comes. It's kind of hard to see, but you'll just see everything get cloudied up there. That's the tornado going through, and then what's left is bricks in the street, things that we showed you yesterday. Taking a look here, some video from our Sky 12 drone of the damage, just bricks and bricks of wood and pieces of building, glass all over the road there. Audrey Dick-Herber has the latest on the recovery efforts out there in Bamberg.
It's been just over 24 hours since the last storm hit and caused all of this damage. Roads are still blocked off and recovery efforts are just getting started today, but nowhere near completed. Now they have roughly 48 hours before the next storm hits to get prepared.
I said, "Oh, honey, I hear the alarm. What should we do? What should we do?" He said, just sit down, just sit down. And as soon as I sat down, 5 to 10 seconds later, the tornado was here.
They didn't have much time to prepare for what came next.
It came gnashing in through the windows, and it made a rumble siren sound, and then it stopped.
A tree fell on their home, branches smashed inside their roof and windows.
But I tell you, this was certainly an experience, and not only for us downtown and other homes that have been destroyed or damaged. This has been an enlightening experience for Bamberg.
And if they aren't cleaning up, they're preparing for more potential severe weather.
It's kind of also a little nerve-wracking to know there's another storm coming and we're just trying to recover from this one.
He says the store has been busy all day.
Here at the store, it's how it usually goes where everybody comes in, they buy everything they think they might need.
Now they're crossing their fingers and taking extra precautions, just in case.
And for so many years, when we hear about a tornado or hurricane, the lingo is, oh, it's not going to happen, nothing's going to happen. And here, something big has happened. We have had severe damages to properties and to homes. So let's just stay prepared, let's stay vigilant, and let's continue to look out for each other.
The people I spoke with are just glad that everyone is okay and hope nothing like this ever happens again. In Bamberg, Audrey Dick-Herber, on your side.
Yeah, everybody being okay is certainly the big one. Thanks for that, Audrey. And we have more coverage. We're going to have a lot of Bamberg coverage here over the next little bit. Hallie Turner spoke with neighbors, picking up the pieces, dealing with some serious property damage.
Damage, miracles, and grace. Words those in the city of Bamberg are using to describe the aftermath of Tuesday's EF2 tornado.
The grace of God is what we're looking at today.
Broken glass, paint sheetrock, and an Uno card are all that's left of what would have soon been Craig Walker's remodeled Airbnb.
When I came over to see the structure in its present state, brought a tear to my eye because we had been working on this place.
And for the man who was inside, Walker says wild is an understatement for what he experienced.
Volatility of the rains came through along with the winds, and he had to make some rash decisions. He felt the roof coming down. The bottom started to drop as well. Then he laid down flat. This young man is extremely lucky, and God was certainly on his side.
And neighbor Robert Crosby says God was on his family's side too, as trees took over his cars and home.
And my family is safe, and my mom and dad and we all are still living, so You know, we're blessed for life. Everything else can be replaced. So we're not worrying about the material stuff.
And as they both look around at the damage citywide, they are reminded how lucky they are to live in a small town.
People that are stopping and saying, hey, are you okay? Can I offer a helping hand? I'm not surprised.
And soon they will build back a better Bamberg.
I'm sure we'll come back stronger, bigger, and better.
In Bamberg, Hallie Turner on your side.
And you heard him say there, the material things can be replaced, the people cannot, and that is the sentiment kind of flowing all throughout Bamberg right now. Heads up for parents in Bamberg County. Schools are going to be closed, or going to be doing e-learning today and tomorrow. Then they have off Monday for the MLK holiday, so they'll pick things back up on Tuesday. But again, e-learning today and tomorrow. Will Rio and First Alert Chief Meteorologist Riley Hale were in Bamberg all day yesterday, along with the National Weather Service, looking at the damage firsthand. They're reporting from the spot the National Weather Service believes that tornado hit first.
That's exactly right, Richard. They think that this tornado started right here in EF2. Peak winds 125 miles an hour and possibly as wide as 3 to 4 football fields. Will, you were here a little bit earlier. Behind us is the Oak and Barrel Company, and you were talking with the general manager for this.
Yeah, the general manager obviously pretty shaken up. He actually shared a story that he's lucky that he has something to tell his grandkids one day. That's how happy and how grateful these people are to still be alive, and that's why these warnings that Riley, you send out, that's why they're so important, because they say when they got that alert, that tornado was here.
Absolutely, and it was like this when that tornado warning was issued. It was a severe thunderstorm warning initially, and that's why we really stayed live with all these cells, because we knew a tornado could just drop that quickly, and that's what we're seeing here locally. One thing I wanted to mention is that this piece of the building that's missing behind us is actually across the street, so it picked up this entire middle section of this building and took it about 100, 200 yards. Now that portion of the building is a little bit older construction. What's left right here behind Will, that is new construction, so that just is a testament to the new building standards that they have, and that if you build it right, it can withstand these storms. But unfortunately, this older portion did take a direct hit.
And of course, these are not small pieces of metal.
No.
These are entire buildings that are being moved across the area, and it was really hard to hear that owner express what he had to do just to stay alive. And we talked to him, and this is his story here.
The flag is a symbol for the Bamberg community, beaten and battered but still standing tall.
I've never seen something like this before hit Bamberg itself.
At South Carolina Oak to Barrel, that's where the National Weather Service says an EF2 tornado touched down.
About 2:40, the wind started picking up and getting a little more steady. I walked out of the office, walked into our front showroom, and seen the roof of the building across the street blow off. The glass started shattering in our showroom, the windows and all that breaking. I just went to the back of the showroom and ducked in the corner and rode it out.
Survey crews say the twister stretched 300 to 400 feet wide with wind speeds of up to 125 miles per hour.
Not many things in life scare me, but that one did. That's the only thing I can really attest to. It was the scariest thing, one of the scariest things I've ever done.
There's still no time frame for when downtown Bamberg will be open again.
We're all trying to pull things together to see if we can clean up and get things going again. And just say a prayer for us, and we'll get there.
Even in these circumstances, that when all of this dust settles, that we will stand in Bamberg County and still be able to declare that this is our finest hour.
And really inspirational words from a lot of the county and city officials here in Bamberg, a message of hope. You know, you saw that American flag. Everyone who came downtown looked up at that American flag. It was normal before the storm, completely torn now, but again, still iconic. Standing. And that's the message that these leaders are sharing with the communities to hang in there. We'll get back to where we need to be.
Yeah. And that's the thing, these horrible situations happen in these small communities, and you see how much good can come out of it, of all the people coming together. All the linemen behind us have been restoring power to this community. It's cold out here tonight, so people are going to have heat thanks to these linemen, emergency crews, and One thing we do have to mention, even though there's a lot of good people out here fixing things, there is some problems with the concern with looting. I know you heard a little bit talking about that in the news conference today.
Yeah, I know in the news conference they said that they want to ensure that people in businesses are safe during this time when they're very vulnerable. So they'll have patrols stationed downtown and then throughout the town as well to make sure that people are not stealing anyone's personal property. Yeah. There's bricks everywhere, as you've seen over downtown Bamberg. They say they want everything to stay where it is, so these insurance companies, these surveyors can come out and see the total picture of what happened with this storm. So it's very important. It's a strong message from them to say, don't come out here and take advantage of a lot of these vulnerable people out here.
Yeah, and we actively just saw 2 policemen.
One sitting back here.
Yeah, still sitting back here. So let that be a message to anyone thinking they can loot tonight. There is actively law enforcement out here patrolling.
Absolutely. And of course, thank you to all the first responders, the linemen who are out here trying to get that electricity, that power, roads back open, trees off of houses. We thank all of them. And of course, we'll continue to follow this as these surveys, these assessments, the final weather service.
Yep, they're going to have an official report with exact path length. That's one portion of the info that we got on the storm that we don't have finalized just yet is the exact path length. We have the width, 300 to 400 yards, 125 mile an hour max winds, and you can see what type of damage those winds can cause behind us.
Absolutely. Of course, again, we'll continue to keep you updated and bring you more from this community.
All right, thanks for that, guys. And let's continue on here, taking another look at the damage left behind by that tornado. Buildings inside the historic City Hall, as well as businesses and several homes there. And with wind speeds of 125 miles an hour, you see the results of what's left behind. The sound of chainsaws has been nonstop out there in the past 24 hours or so. All right, our team coverage continues with Sydney Hood out there in Bamberg.
It's honestly just a heartbreaking scene down here in downtown Bamberg. Take a look at it for yourself. All of these bricks on the ground were once someone's business. One business owner told me they were actually in the process of renovating these old historic buildings. Now all that's left are these broken bricks on the ground and a lot of broken hearts. It's a painful sight knowing this rubble was once someone's entire life.
I was so close. I mean, I was 80+% done.
Harry Talmadge doesn't live in Bamberg, but he sees something here a lot of us tend to overlook.
There's a lot of potential in this town. There's a ton of potential. That's what brought me here.
This is what he was working with, buildings we'd likely overlook.
When I first bought that, I remember everybody being like, there's no way this is going to get fixed. You know, you're just wasting your time in Bamberg. And to get so close and then just have it smashed to pieces.
Look around. The entire town is in pieces.
I remember that downtown area from back when I was a child. I mean, those buildings are the same as they've always been.
Bobby Beck's lived in Bamberg his entire life.
This is my mother and father-in-law's house, and I don't think they got any damage. I didn't see anything that was really damaged much here.
It's pure luck because if you look around at the rest of the town.
Kind of a devastating feeling. Like I said, my hometown's gone.
But the people that make this place home are still here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, you know, I'm going to stick with Bamberg.
It'll be weeks before this town gets a price tag on the damage out here, but that's nothing compared to the price of life, which everyone out here in Bamberg is very grateful to have.
Thanks, Sydney, out there in Bamberg. And then let's continue on, or that actually concludes the Bamberg portion of this top headlines. We do have some more stuff to get to. We will have more weather to talk about on the regional and national side in just a minute, but some more local news first. A 27-year-old is behind bars in connection to the murder of a 78-year-old jewelry store owner in Aiken. Deputies arrested Alexander Boone yesterday. Deputies got called to a home on Tuesday on Brookhaven Drive for a possible burglary. Investigators found a well-known business owner who goes by the name of Porky Bradbury Jr. dead inside the home. Since the news broke, the community's been stopping by his store to show their support. Craig Allison talked to a family friend who says they are shocked.
A new sign greets shocked customers at this community cornerstone of Aiken. A death for a family that's been around for decades, that rings true for regulars.
I stopped by today because this is hard.
Callie Freeman started coming by Porky Bradbury's 3 years ago. While she was sick with COVID, she says she lost her wedding ring and Porky made that loss better with his kindness.
I come here I don't even buy things sometimes. I just come here and just sit and chat with them and see how things are going.
Others followed suit, walking by the sign or not even leaving their cars and turning around. The only closure comes with today's arrest of Alexander Boone. Deputies say he broke in and killed Bradbury in his bedroom, taking only a pair of shoes and a jacket. Still, no motive has been released.
Everything we buy has a story behind it. All of them are in our prayers.
In Aiken, Craig Allison, on your side.
It's not clear yet when that jewelry store will reopen. Golden Harvest Food Bank is expanding. This week, the nonprofit opened its new volunteer center. This center will be the focal point for their packing for distribution. As Nick Veland shows us, they need a helping hand.
Since the start of this week, Golden Harvest volunteers have been working in a new space to feed the community.
I believe in this. I believe that basic needs are food, water. So they meet a lot of needs in a big area. So when I saw the all-call, I said, let's go.
Chuck Young has been lending a helping hand for the last decade. He had to take a few years off for health reasons. He's better now and sweating through the shifts, working and feeding the community.
This you have to keep going, because you got to keep it stocked for what I'm doing today. So I'm glad. It helps me stay fit. I'm 68, so this is good for me.
Golden Harvest is looking for 40 volunteers for shifts throughout the week. Their three main items they pack for are for feeding families, the elderly, and kids. But they still need more volunteers.
Going forward, we still need volunteers. I need volunteers at our new facility, Monday through Friday.
The food bank received letters from kids thanking them for their backpack meals. One saying, "I don't have to cry about no food in the house," making those who serve grateful and asking for more to come help.
You feel really entrenched in what they're doing. Everybody is just joyful in doing this. So what do you got to lose? Nothing.
In Augusta, Nick Veland on your side.
On our website, we have more on the different shifts Golden Harvest has to offer throughout the week and how to sign up. Well, the man who would be Thompson's next police chief withdraws his name less than 2 weeks after City Council picked him for the job. Donovan Jones was selected for the position, but is stepping aside for personal reasons. Yesterday, leaders in Thompson announced Daniel Carrier would take the job. Carrier is a lieutenant working with the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. He becomes Thompson's police chief on January 29th. And one of the three finalists for Augusta's city administrator position has withdrawn his name. Robert Civic told us he was dropping out without any further comment. The other two finalists are Tamika Allen and Richard Chess. The interim city administrator is Takia Dowse. She's been serving that position for almost 2 years after Odie Donald left. In Trenton, South Carolina, a program helps inmates build a second chance after their release. It's called the Jump Start program. Taylor Martin shows us 10 inmates graduated yesterday.
The Jump Start program gives incarcerated people the opportunity to build a second chance, teaching them to walk by faith and not by sight.
The goal of the program is to build disciples, but also to help individuals transition well back into society.
For Tim Murray, it's a full circle moment, graduating the first class of Jump Start graduates at Trenton Correctional Facility after going through the program himself just a few years ago.
Jump Start means the world to me. I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in today if I wouldn't have participated in Jump Start when I was incarcerated.
Jump Start is currently in 19 different prisons across the state of South Carolina and making its way into prisons in Georgia. Through a 40-week curriculum centered around Christianity, the program is meant to lower recidivism rates across the state.
This is going to help me when I get out, because when I was on the street, I always felt alone, abandoned.
Helping people behind bars realize their future is greater than their past.
I know that I have people and resources out there that I can tap into, that I don't have to go back to the same life I was living. I don't have to keep doing the same things. And that's what really matters.
Reporting in Trenton, Taylor Martin on your side.
A great program they're doing, helping people out there who need it, and good to see the success story in real time there with that leader coming back and helping out the next group. Jumpstart is funded by donations and run by volunteers, some of whom were behind bars once themselves. The program has more than 2,000 graduates, and if they don't graduate on their first try, they can try again. 4 rail cars derailed inside the Augusta rail yard yesterday morning, excuse me. CSX says there were no injuries, nothing was released, no hazardous chemicals involved. They say the cars remained upright and contractors are working to re-rail those cars. There's no impact to the public. Happening yesterday rather, Georgia Republicans entertaining the idea of expanding Medicaid here in Georgia. Georgia ranks 5th in the country for most uninsured people. Abby Kasoris is shining a light on the doctors, nurses, and people living in the gap, pushing for state lawmakers to act now.
Georgia is one of 10 states that started their own health care program, which includes a work requirement, opting out of the Affordable Care Act. It's called the Georgia Pathways Program, and it launched in July. If you haven't heard of it, you're not alone. Sign-ups are way under what the governor estimated. Out of 300,000 eligible people, only 25,000 Georgians have signed up, leaving a gap in state health care.
In reality, it's just a nightmare both for providers and patients.
Dr. Karen Kinsel is the only doctor in rural Clay County, serving a county of 3,000 people near the Georgia border between Columbus and Albany. She's one of several doctors who testified to Democrat state lawmakers, showing her support for Medicaid expansion.
It's one of the worst records in the country. These are kicking off children during flu and COVID season.
Money to afford health care, but they don't qualify for the state's Medicaid program. By fully expanding Medicaid, they estimate the state would be eligible for $1 billion in federal funds every year.
I want to leave no stone unturned when it comes to improving health care options for Georgians.
Speaker of the House John Burns says Republicans are willing to listen to a proposal.
No discussion that the House can't have. We will look at what it means to expand health care opportunities in the state. We're firmly committed to Governor's Camp and this Pathways program. We know that's a viable option we have. It's working, and it will continue to work, but we want to make sure that we're looking at every option and certainly working with the governor.
Democrats have not drafted legislation yet. They still face more hurdles, holding committee meetings, majority support in the House and the Senate, and a signature from Governor Brian Kemp. In Atlanta, I'm Abby Kasoris.
Thanks, Abby. Hope Dean shows us parts of Atlanta got hit with some severe storms, and recovery for some could take weeks.
Tuesday's storms turned deadly when a tree fell onto this car in Clayton County, killing the driver. Police say the man behind the wheel was 78-year-old Herbert Lee Williams. Williams' son says his father was on his way to work when the tree came tumbling down. Other commutes across Metro Atlanta were also impacted by Tuesday's weather. Motorists on Northside Drive had to fight through flash flooding.
It's not good.
In Covington, water rushed into the parking lot of a shopping center, causing customers inside this Ross Dress for Less to evacuate.
My heart goes out to the people that left their vehicles here.
We walk our dog here all the time, and it is just flooded. We've been watching it rise since 10 o'clock.
And in Roswell, water is spilling over the banks of the Chattahoochee River, flooding Azalea Park and closing down nearby streets.
The normal edge of the water bank is probably, I don't know, about 75 yards from here. So it really is up significantly.
It looks surreal. It looks like the river came up to meet us.
Yesterday, a jury found a Georgia mother not guilty of murder charges in the death of her 6-year-old son more than 20 years ago. Prosecutors allege Teresa Black killed her son William Hamilton in 1999 and left his body in the woods. The defense argued there was no proof of murder. They say William died after going to sleep in those woods because they were homeless and he never woke up. While the jury acquitted Black on murder charges, they did find her guilty on one count of concealing the death of another. Black's sentencing will be Friday. She faces anywhere from 1 to 10 years. Law enforcement officers face a higher risk of self-harm and suicide stemming from stress faced during the job. That's why in Cobb County, people in law enforcement can now enter a relaxation room to help de-stress and protect their mental health. There's a massage chair, soothing sounds playing, even a little water fountain to really set the mood. Officers say they're already noticing a difference.
Just sit and relax. It's not just to be free, it is to really and truly clear your mind, clear your thoughts of what it is that you may have just experienced.
Cobb County says this is just one of the many ways they're looking out for their staff. A Fulton County judge says the diary of a protester killed by police can be used in the trials of other people. The diary belonged to Manuel Terran, who died protesting the new Atlanta police training facility. He was killed 1 year ago this month after firing a weapon at Georgia State troopers clearing that scene. Parts of Terran's diary are filled with anti-police rhetoric, and they can be used as evidence against other accused violent protesters. Prosecutors will try to prove what they're calling a criminal enterprise to stop the development of the training center. Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis is subpoenaed in the divorce proceedings of the lead prosecutor in her election interference case. Nathan Wade is the lead prosecutor for the case against former President Trump and his co-defendants for their alleged actions following the 2020 election. One of Trump's co-defendants accused Willis of having an inappropriate relationship with Wade. Willis's office declined to comment on the subpoena. Wade has not responded. Today, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp will deliver his 2024 State of the State address. He will do that before a joint session of the Georgia Assembly. The governor will outline plans and priorities for the session while reflecting on last year's accomplishments. This is set for 11 o'clock at the state capitol. We will be streaming that live here on our digital streaming apps, YouTube channel, Facebook page as well. Governor Kemp wants to see a new dental school at Georgia Southern University and a new medical school at the University of Georgia in Athens to help with the healthcare worker shortage here in the state. He made that announcement yesterday during the annual Eggs and Issues breakfast.
With these new assets on the way, we will further address the growing need for healthcare professionals in our state and ensure that we are doing everything that we can to address the challenges across the healthcare spectrum.
At this point, it is not official, but we will keep you updated on the progress. Heading across the river now to South Carolina, a new bill in the House is looking to protect voters leading up to an election. Deep fakes are a branch of artificial intelligence that can mimic the mannerisms and likeness of any person. This can be through images, audio, or video recordings. It's widely uncharted territory that lawmakers are looking to restrict to protect voters from misinformation.
Very hard to decipher between what's real and what's fake nowadays because of these different technologies that are coming down. And if this type of misinformation spreads, it will lead people down the wrong path.
Under a proposed bill, a person caught impersonating a candidate or deterring voters from using polls through deep fakes or other synthetic media could face fines and jail time. Republican lawmakers are fast-tracking what will likely be one of the most controversial social issues debated at the South Carolina State House this year, that is transgender health care. Supporters say their push is about protecting kids, while opponents argue it'll actually harm an already marginalized group of South Carolinians. State House reporter Mary Green has the details.
Lawmakers just gaveled in to begin their legislative session here Tuesday. By Wednesday afternoon, a Republican-dominated committee had already advanced this bill to the House of Representatives floor, where it could be debated as early as next week.
Don't disrupt trans lives!
This bill would ban minors in South Carolina from undergoing gender transition procedures, including surgeries, hormone therapy, and puberty blockers. It would also prohibit state dollars from going toward these procedures and ban Medicaid from covering them for anyone younger than 27.
When God created us, He created us male and female, and that's it. There is no other choice. And all these other folks that want to change that from birth or change that through their life, we need to stand up against that.
The proposal would also prohibit school staff from knowingly withholding information from a parent that their minor child's perception of their gender is inconsistent with their sex.
It's going to be so subjective, and there are going to be teachers who target students, and there are going to be teachers who make false assumptions, and that is going to have consequences.
More than 20 other states have already enacted measures similar to this bill. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
And the House subcommittee heard more than 3 hours of testimony on this bill Tuesday afternoon. Just one person spoke in favor of it, while the rest, including pediatricians and parents, spoke against it. Earlier this week, dozens of schools in our area decided to switch to e-learning Tuesday in preparation for the severe weather. It's become a popular alternative for schools in the years since the pandemic. This way, students could keep learning while staying at home. But it's putting a strain on some parents who are left scrambling to find last-minute childcare. Molly McBride explains.
My family, e-learning is something we dread.
It's hard enough to be a working mom, Charleston County School District parent Jenna Arsenault says, and trying to juggle work while teaching her 2nd and 6th graders from home is overwhelming.
They need a lot of coaxing throughout the day to actually get their assignments done. And it makes it pretty impossible to get any of my work done.
Especially when all of our resources, like our daycares, etc., or even the kids that we rely on to babysit are now also obligated to stay home and e-learn. I feel like it's a lot to ask people on top of that to also be responsible for e-learning.
South Carolina policy gives school districts 5 e-learning days per school year.
I would rather them be able to do some work, get credit for that day, and then not have to make it up at the end of the year.
As for Arsenault, a traditional weather day without assignments for students would be much more manageable.
Stay safe, have a little time to do whatever they need to do, and it would take a lot of pressure off of the parents.
It's up to individual school districts whether students have an e-learning day or a day off altogether. SLED is now investigating whether a woman involved in the Murdaugh murder trials used her elected position for personal gain. Colleton County Clerk of Court Becky Hill has become the center of attention after Murdaugh's defense team claims she tampered with the jury during the trial. Hill is accused of telling jurors to not believe Murdaugh's testimony and pressured jurors to reach a guilty verdict for her own profit. Hill has denied any wrongdoing. A motion for Murdaugh's new trial request is set for later this month. A National Guard soldier from Raleigh is in custody after the police say he was involved in a murder-for-hire plot. Investigators say Rhett Barlow tried to get someone to kill the man driving a truck that killed his mother back in 2016. Donald Calder Jr. was driving a dump truck that slammed into Barlow's mom's van, crushing it between the dump truck and a tractor trailer. Calder pled guilty to misdemeanor death by vehicle and was sentenced to 75 days in jail. Prosecutors talked about some of the steps Barlow took.
He purchased an AR-15 Springfield rifle at Carolina Gun Runners in Raleigh. Subsequent to that, he has purchased another firearm from the same facility. He also requested a transfer of his Army National Guard duty to a post that put him in very close proximity to the intended victim.
Barlow is being held on $1 million bond in connection to that murder-for-hire plot. The number of Republicans running for their party's nomination to be president just shrank by 1 last night. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie has dropped out of the race. It comes just days before the Iowa caucuses and New Hampshire primary, and the remaining candidates are pushing towards the finish line. Christian Benavidez was there.
We don't need another mealy-mouthed politician.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley called each other liars in their first one-on-one debate in Des Moines, Iowa. In just 5 days, Iowa's Republicans will caucus and pick their nominee for president.
If she says she's never said something, that definitely means she said it. And then she'll say, you're lying, you're lying. That means not only did she say it, but she's on videotape saying it.
Every time he lies, Drake University, don't turn this into a drinking game because you will be overserved by the end of the night.
CNN kept Vivek Ramaswamy off the debate stage, saying he didn't qualify, so the businessman candidate aired a commercial during the 1-hour event, telling viewers to turn it off.
And turn this off.
That same hour on Fox News, frontrunner and former President Donald Trump, who's refused to participate in debates, held a solo town hall event in Iowa. He railed against the U.S. immigration crisis.
We are going to have the largest deportation effort in the history of our country.
Thursday, he heads back to New York for closing arguments in his civil fraud trial. A judge ruled earlier the former president is not allowed to speak in court. Meantime, one of Trump's biggest Republican critics, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, suspended his campaign.
And it's clear to me tonight that there isn't a path for me to win the nomination. I am going to make sure that in no way do I enable Donald Trump to ever be president of the United States again.
Christie's exit could gain more Republican support for Haley in New Hampshire. She trails Trump by single digits in a recent CNN poll. Sources say Christie has no plans to endorse Haley, and before his announcement, he was caught on a hot mic saying Haley is, quote, going to get smoked, and he also said DeSantis is, quote, petrified. Well, some fireworks on Capitol Hill yesterday after Hunter Biden made a surprise appearance at a hearing of the House Oversight Committee as it weighed whether to hold the president's son in contempt of Congress. Natalie Brand reports from Washington, D.C.
Biden, you plan on testifying today?
Surrounded by cameras, Hunter Biden and his lawyer showed up at a meeting of the Republican-controlled House Oversight Committee Wednesday.
The question there is, what are they afraid of?
The Oversight Committee is one of two committees moving forward with contempt charges against Hunter Biden for refusing to comply with a congressional subpoena to testify behind closed doors.
Hunter Biden's willful refusal to comply with the committee's subpoenas is a criminal act.
But Democrats pointed out that the president's son has repeatedly said he is willing to testify in public.
He has materially, substantially, in good faith complied with what your requests were.
The committees want Hunter Biden's testimony as part of an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. The months-long investigation has not found direct evidence of wrongdoing by the president, but Republicans continue to press their case.
Our investigation has produced significant evidence suggesting President Biden knew of, participated in, and benefited from his family's cashing in on the Biden name.
GOP lawmakers blasted the president's son's appearance as theater.
This is just a PR stunt to you. This is just a game.
Democrats countered that several Republicans ignored subpoenas from the January 6th House Select Committee.
Here is the subpoena to Jim Jordan, who did not comply.
Hunter Biden walked out of the hearing just as Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene began to speak. She had displayed explicit photos of him during a committee meeting last summer. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Hunter Biden is already under a special counsel investigation. He's set to appear in a federal court in California today to face tax charges. He also faces charges related to his purchase of a handgun in 2018. Well, House Republicans held the first impeachment hearing for Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. They accuse him of opening the border, making the country more dangerous. Skylar Henry has the latest from Capitol Hill.
House Republicans left little doubt about what they plan to do with Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
We're going to impeach him. He's going to be impeached, and he should be.
Democrats say Republicans are using the impeachment hearing to attack the Biden administration's border policies, which Mayorkas is in charge of.
You cannot impeach a cabinet secretary because you don't like a president's policies. That's not what impeachment's for.
Republicans say Mayorkas has neglected his duties.
Secretary Mayorkas has brazenly refused to enforce the laws passed by Congress and enacted policies that knowingly make our country less safe.
In the history of the country, only one secretary has ever been impeached, and a constitutional expert testified that the high crimes and misdemeanors bar needed to impeach Secretary Mayorkas has not been met.
Following the policy directives of one's elected superior in pursuit of that superior's policy aims is simply not an impeachable abuse of power.
Even if the House does impeach Mayorkas, Democrats in the Senate are unlikely to convict him.
Impeaching Secretary Mayorkas solves nothing at the border. In fact, it detracts from a bipartisan effort to reach solutions to the security problem at the border.
Mayorkas is leading Biden administration negotiations with Senate Republicans to find a way to strengthen the border in exchange for support for the wars in Ukraine and Israel. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Senators say there are still significant differences on the border bill, that negotiations will continue beyond this week. A powerful winter storm caused flooding in much of the Northeast, or flood warnings, and rain and wind punished the region overnight, inundating dozens of communities with water and more bad weather on the way. Michael George reports from Lodi, New Jersey.
The powerful storm that brought wicked winds and heavy rain to the East Coast
has made its way in here. Flooding is happening.
Left roads in several states underwater and residents frustrated.
I have probably about a good foot and a half of water against my fence line.
The deluge washed out railroad tracks at New Jersey's Hoboken Terminal. People living along rivers in the state waded through knee-deep water.
We can't keep going through this. I'll be looking to sell in the spring.
In Paterson, New Jersey, officials kept a close eye on the Passaic River.
It is expected to crest tomorrow at approximately 5 p.m., and it could be 10 feet or more, which would adversely impact residents who are in the low-lying areas.
Here in the town of Lodi, streets were inundated with water after the nearby Saddle River crested about 4 feet above flood stage.
This is bad. I've never seen it this high.
In Norwich, Connecticut, a flood warning was issued Wednesday, with officials concerned more of the Fitchville Pond Dam could give way. The storm made a mess of roads in Massachusetts and also in Maine, where commuters in Portland face more than 3 feet of storm surge. As the cleanup begins, another wet and windy washout could be on the way, with a storm forecast for the East Coast Friday. Michael George, CBS News, Lodi, New Jersey.
The CDC says bullying is widespread and can have serious health consequences for young people, and not just for the person being bullied. Astrid Martinez takes us inside a middle school that's teaching students to be upstanders instead of bystanders.
The sound of a chime in Elise Ward's 7th grade class means it's time to contemplate how to create a positive school environment.
Empathy means feeling and thinking how the other person might feel or think.
Students put their hand to their heart to connect to their bodies, behaviors, and beliefs during discussions on emotional intelligence.
We can make sure that everyone feels included and safe.
Educators at Ann Dorner Middle School pair those discussions with an online bullying prevention program called EverFi, originally created with the U.S. Navy SEALs. Students are asked to stand up for others, not able to stand up for themselves.
We're letting them understand the importance of having that integrity and having that resilience and that leadership so that when they can go out into the world, they can make those changes.
The program is tailored for each grade, from kindergarten through high school, and students independently move through the lessons.
You can choose whichever one you want.
Okay,
So which one would you like? Yeah, which one would you like?
EverFi says it's now in a quarter of all schools nationwide, and student surveys show progress.
There has been an increase in the number of students that have actually gone and asked for support from an adult, but we have also seen a decrease in students deciding not to intervene.
Students we spoke with say the program has empowered them to get involved.
Asking an adult or going to them and making sure they're okay, or even talking to the bully.
They say being a bystander is no longer an option. Astrid Martinez, CBS News, Ossining, New York.
That anti-bullying course is offered free to all students, teachers, and schools in the U.S. Well, if you're a parent of a student considering colleges, a new report from the College Investor shows out-of-state students pay almost 172% more on average than in-state students. Consumer investigator Rachel DePompa talks to an expert about the pros and cons of going to a school in your home state.
A new study by the College Investor took a hard look at the cost of out-of-state schools nationwide, finding on average out-of-state students pay almost 172% more than if they went to an in-state school. And when you start looking at the in-state flagship schools, you're going to pay 2 to 4 times more if you're attending an out-of-state school. Robert Farrington with the College Investors says that could make going out of state just not worth it.
So as high school students right now are crafting their college lists and deciding where to go, they should really consider their in-state schools. They get a lot better value, your money goes farther, and we also found that in-state schools award a lot more financial aid.
Farrington says if you are going to attend an out-of-state school, you just have to realize your out-of-pocket costs are going to be much higher, and you may rack up more student loan debt. So you need to make a plan now so you aren't drowning in debt for years to come.
I think there's also a big myth on the quality of education. I think we see these big school names, we see, these famous educational institutions, but most state schools offer a great educational quality for much less price.
Farrington says if you don't know what you're going to do, or you're not going after some certain specialty program at a specific out-of-state school, don't discount schools that are in your home state and near home. He also says you can consider community college for a year and transfer into a state school to save even more money. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Well, imagine never getting stuck in traffic again. That is the dream, right? But that's the lofty goal of a flying car on display at CES in Las Vegas. Consumer tech reporter Jamie Tucker shows us more.
for well over a decade. A lot of people promising flying cars at CES. Well, this isn't technically a flying car, but the Helix Pivotal is flying, and it's taking to the skies a lot sooner than you might think.
The aircraft is a single-seat aircraft, all electric. The aircraft only weighs 348 pounds.
With 8 propellers, the Helix can fly for up to 20 minutes or 20 miles and up to 1,000 feet in the air. There's no landing gear, and it takes off like this, vertically.
So you can hover on a dime, you can spin 360, you can fly 60 miles an hour looking down at the birds that are taking off underneath you.
That's Christina Mitten in the air. She and other Helix flyers do not need a pilot's license. The vehicle falls under the FAA's description of an ultralight vehicle. Therefore, it cannot be flown over congested areas. But Mitten believes that could change someday.
You don't need to have a runway. You can take off from your backyard, from a soccer field, or from a farmer's field. So it really opens up a lot of opportunities that weren't previously available.
The inventor of the aircraft invented memory foam. He retired and created this aircraft. Today is the first day that it's available to the general public.
And in case you're wondering, there is a parachute for the entire Helix Pivotal. It rests right here, so if something goes wrong, it's going to gently float to the ground and land safely. There are a lot of other big ideas at CES this week. We're going to take a look at as many of them as we can the rest of the week. That's What the Tech from CES in Las Vegas. I'm Jamie Tucker.
Pretty cool stuff, and the Helix has been in development for 12 years. In case you're interested, they'll be delivered beginning in June. The starting price just shy of 200 grand. Chump change, right? University of Alabama's head football coach Nick Saban decides to hang up the headset, and it was raining stuffed animals at Christenberry Fieldhouse. Here's Dan Booth.
In the first 2 years of Augusta University's Stuff the Stadium event, they donated over 2,000 stuffed animals. With this being their third go-around, they were trying to top that combined number this year, and they got pretty close. After the Jags scored their first bucket of the game against Clayton State, everyone in attendance threw stuffed animals from the stands onto the court, and it was a sight to behold. I'm told roughly 1,900 stuffed animals of all kinds were flying through the air this year, which is just incredible. Once all these stuffed animals were picked up, they're eventually cleaned and then donated to multiple local organizations, including Safe Homes, Ronald McDonald House, Boys and Girls Club, Garden City Rescue Mission, as well as Copeland and McBean Elementary Schools. This is quickly becoming a fan favorite tradition, and it's easy to see that everyone is happy to be a part of a special night like this for a good cause.
I brought like a 6-foot dog named Waldo, and I'm going to try to get in the middle of the court, but I probably won't be able to.
Came here last year, had a great time. It's good to get an opportunity to give back to the community, support the school, and it's just a fun time overall.
I'm a graduating senior, so this is like my last couple games, and it just means the world to be here.
I was so excited to get stuffed animals for this event just because of the charity causes it's going for.
Not only are we donating to like Ronald McDonald House and different elementary schools, but mostly like other charities that people don't even know about that does need the support of like stuffed animals or just kids that need that happiness.
I think that just shows that Augusta can have fun while still making an impact in our community.
And every year we anticipate getting more and more each year, and it's a great little event. The best thing is our students are buying it and the community together.
Before the game, everyone in Christenberry shared a moment of silence to honor former AU's men's basketball star Tyvez Monroe, who was killed a couple of weeks ago. This is the Jags' first home game since his passing. In the first half, David Vitti has a volleyball tap out to John St. Germain, who gets the floater to fall, putting the Jags up by 4 after that basket. Moments later, Zaire Edwards steps into the passing lane for the steal, and then he takes it the rest of the way for what would be an and one. Then this laser of a 3 by David Vitti kept piling it on. The Jags snapped their 3-game losing streak with an impressive win on their home floor, 73-61. Now, despite Michigan winning the national championship on Monday, all eyes of college football fans are on Tuscaloosa, Alabama, because in shocking fashion, legendary head coach Nick Saban has announced his plans to retire. Many believe Saban is the best college football coach of all time, winning a record 7 national championships, 6 with the Crimson Tide and 1 with LSU. He won 9 SEC championships in his 17 years with the Tide, many of which Georgia head football coach Kirby Smart has been a part of. Saban's final season with the Tide included their upset victory over the Dogs in the SEC title game and his 8th trip to the college football playoff. That's it for sports. Have a great day, everybody.
All righty, thanks, Dan. And folks, thank you for tuning in here. Hope you enjoyed these top headlines. We've got Morning Mix coming up in 10 minutes. Be sure to check out these stories and much more on our website. Download our streaming app, WRDW News 12. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, WRDW News 12, and our Facebook page, which I believe is News 1226 Augusta, something like that. Yeah, but all that's free to do, and it keeps you up to date with everything going on. Remember, First Alert Weather Day tomorrow, so good to stay in the know with what we've got, information we're putting out to you guys, so those apps are a great way to do that. All right, Morning Mix at the top of the hour. I'll see you back at 10:30 for First Alert Weather Extra. See you then.